Welcome back to the Dynasty Den, Week 11, our weekly show, diving into your fantasy matchups, to NFL matchups. Evan, we've barely gotten to talk about these games from this fun slate of football this past week. How are we feeling today?
Yeah, I mean, based on all the teams that I have, some ups and downs. Like I played JT in one league, went through a blender in that, and a few others. Like, yeah, putting up a lot of surprises at least for a bunch of fun like matchups this past weekend. Like crazy breakouts that I called on this past week, and some surprises, which was really great. But overall, yeah, I'm just looking forward to this week. This is gonna be a fun one. A lot of reasonable games at least to pan out this week. So we'll
It's
see how it
interesting.
plays out.
This slate seems like the early slate. The 1 p.m. games this week seem to be what I'm anticipating to be a lot of blowouts, but
Mhm.
with a lot of good fantasy players on the teams on the winning end. So I think we could have some pretty big performances there. And then we get some really like tight defensive type games in the later slate. And then I think might wrap up the week with another lopsided one, but who knows? That could end up being a shootout as well. So yeah, no, I think I'm with you. We got a fun slate of football ahead of us. And I was thinking about this while I was cooking dinner tonight. Curious your thoughts here. Or I can go first if you need to think, but what would you say is like a one defining trait of this NFL season so far that feels different than past ones?
I mean, not that this is much more different than previous seasons, but I will say at least this season specifically, I feel like there are a lot more injuries to like very key positions within teams. Especially in terms of like draft capital and where you might have spent in your draft. Like a lot of those impact players that you really would have seen are just like nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at least like a lot of the fun aspect of like dynasty is a lot of those like key rookie players coming in, like kind of now either like finding their footing or like making that like immediate impact. I think that's been like a lot of fun. But yeah, I feel like it's like maybe it's like that midseason flip, but I feel like a lot of the players that you would have expected like beginning of season to perform as well as they are finally catching their stride and they're kind of breaking out for remainder of the year. So maybe that's a little bit different, but I've seen that with plenty of other circumstances.
Yeah.
But no, I'm interested to hear what your take is at
No,
least on
I'm
it.
in a similar boat. It's injury related for sure. But I was going to say,
Yeah.
so I think for me, it's how many injuries were brushed off and are just insanely serious. So,
Mm.
like, Bucky Irving, who we were talking a little bit about before we started recording, but just how he wasn't on IR, right? Just indefinite timetable.
Mhm.
That's the most recent update is still like no timeline to return. I think about Brock Purdy in that same kind of boat where missed a couple weeks, comes back, re-aggravates the toe, still doesn't go on IR the second time. And now it's possible that Joe Burrow, who had a much more severe version of the turf toe injury than Purdy did, will be back before Purdy was. Like it's like so it's kind of the injury trend though of just not understanding the severity of any of these injuries is kind of where I'm at. And the same, I'm monitoring the Patriots running back situation because of course, but Ramondre Stevenson just ruled out. But again, he's not like on IR, but this might be turf toe that we don't know about. Like I don't know. It's interesting how I feel like people would have criticized the Niners with this last year for the McCaffrey stuff, but more teams seem to be getting away with it, where it's just like the actual severity of these injuries isn't really disclosed. And I don't know, don't necessarily understand it, but it makes it hard to manage.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like Bucky's listed as doubtful for this week. Like just practice
We
at
never
least
see that
Wednesday,
now.
and like
Like we
that's
like
like
rarely
yeah,
see that.
like you. I mean, at least as like fantasy owners, like you want that transparency, and like yeah, to your point, like we're just not getting it.
Yeah, I don't. It's just very odd. And then there's been some like random injuries too. Like I mean, obviously Travis Hunter, it's not random, but it happens in practice during the bye week, and then that ends up being season ending. He got knee surgery today, I believe. And
Mhm.
then we just got news Marvin Harrison appendicitis, but none of these things are like in these players' control. It's just it feels so either like random out of nowhere, players being ruled out, or just such misleading info with the injuries. But it's fine. Like we're gonna navigate it all. We'll talk through players. It's not necessarily good or bad because it's information that you can leverage to get guys who are gonna step up into new opportunities. Just it just feels different this year. I don't have data on it. I don't know how you could track that data of like injury severity over
that.
time.
Yeah, I don't even know.
But that's it. I will say though, great 2 weeks of football for me. I think everyone I've talked about on the show who's been underperforming for the last like 9-10 weeks is finally good now. So we're good. We're right about everything. We now deserve to take victory laps. The other 10 weeks don't matter at all. Just kidding. I can't wait to do like an I was wrong type video right after the season ends and kind of just go back and look at some of the off-season content that was published here and see where we went wrong, where we were right, and just better that process. Speaking of process, building a team seems to be a very easy thing when you are New England. So we got some Thursday night football tomorrow. The Jets will be visiting the Patriots Thursday night football. As I mentioned, no Ramondre Stevenson. Terrell Jennings, who got the first 3 carries of this past game, is questionable. I think they're expecting him to play, but it does not matter because Travion Henderson has arrived here and he could run wild on this Jets offense. I'm predicting like 38-0.
Yeah, no, it's easy. I mean, I think the spread is set at like, I think it's 12.5, I want to say, which like easily just shatterable, especially in like this specific game. Like, I get that the Jets are coming off of like a 2-game win streak, but that
is crazy to say.
Yeah, like that's like an insane point, at least that we are on the year where they were 0-7. Like, and especially with like Garrett Wilson like re-injuring, like that's atrocious for a lot of owners. I hate to see that. Even as like in one of my leagues, I have him, and that was pretty brutal to start him and then have him play, and then I think it was like a quarter or 2 into the game off. It's tough, but I mean, this is going to be hard, especially relying on the Jets with who you would think is like your one true outlet to even kind of break through with this game specifically is like Breece Hall. And like, he's going to be going against a team that has the second lowest yards per carry for like the defense for New England, allowing the lowest per carry, as well as the fewest rushing yards to date in the league. Like it's going to be tough. So, I mean, I don't even really see like much of a viable option, at least in the passing game. Like it's been so spotty, but I guess on the flip, like I'm looking forward to a great game from the Patriots. Like this is like MVP season for Drake May. It's gonna be fun. I don't really see a world where, it's a tough, like, one-sided kind of issue with, Jets kind of fighting back. It's kind of going to just be a beatdown.
Yeah, I mean, Patriots just have them beat both sides of the ball. When as the Jets, if your only chance to being competitive is to score 2 a kick return and a punt return touchdown in the same game, then which is awesome that they did that, by the way. It's just not a winning strategy, especially when Fields 50 yards on the day. You take away the dump off pass to Breece Hall that went for a touchdown, and I think he had 12 passing yards. So it's just a pretty atrocious offense there in New York, and I think this will be fun because like the Patriots are kind of back where, in the Tom Brady era, you would see these Jets matchups and it was just a free win for the Patriots, and then during this rebuild, they were both kind of at the bottom of the AFC East, so it was still, we had some competitive matchups in like the Mac Jones era. So we'll kind of be interesting to see what Drake May does, but I do think this is definitely a I don't know, definitely the type of game where you kind of have to hope your players score early because it could be it really could just get out of hand. And we've said that before and we've been wrong. So again, these division matchups, sometimes these teams find a way, but it's not like Dolphins Bills where like the Dolphins, who we thought would get blown out way back for the Thursday night game, not this past week. They still have like good fantasy players that you can, like the Jets just don't. I think at this point, if you're a Justin Fields truther, you got to be completely done. In Dynasty, like flip him to whoever still believes in him. Like I would take anything for him. I think I would take free agency dollars for him. Well, okay, that's probably not true, but I would definitely. I think I would take a 3rd round pick for him. I don't know, just out. I don't know what the path forward here could possibly be, or who's watching this season in New York and thinks he's a starter in the NFL. And now we're seeing with nothing around him, he's not even good for fantasy, which was like the one thing he had going for him as a contending piece to your team was, he'll have the rushing. It's just not there at all. Any interest in Dearness Johnson as a little depth piece here as people prep for a playoff. I mean, Trevion Henderson did get a little banged up in the game. He, of course, returned and scored his second long touchdown of the day after what seemed to be a knee injury, which I was very concerned about. I don't know what it's Patriots backfield's having a hard time staying healthy here.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I even picked up Ramondre like late draft and kind of just held, at least with that unsure situation. And at least as an owner for him, like it was refreshing to see that even though he had blunders of games with drops and fumbles, like still got a chance. But yeah, like I was kind of one of those guys that didn't fully understand at least like the blind dependence. Like like Trevion's clearly like, a great player and like he's so due. Like I'm really excited for him. So I think I would I would invest my shares at least in Trevion. I don't think I would really turn back. Like if they're going to hand it to him, it's going to be like a rest of season. Great year for him, especially with the kind of the momentum that this Patriots team has.
Yeah, it does seem like Stevenson is somewhat going to come back or fairly soon, but I think it will go back to what we thought would happen at the beginning of the season, where he'll be the in between the tackles guy, and Henderson. We do want to note. I think the two long runs are what everyone's excited about with Trevion Henderson, as they rightfully should be. But I think what was a highlight as well was how well he graded in PFF from a pass block standpoint, his best outing of the year by far, which was, early on that seemed to be what was keeping him off the field. Again, it's just one performance, but so if he can build on that level of it too, it's gonna be harder to take him off the field when he gives you these explosive runs. And I think critics would still point out like how cool he had two big runs and then did nothing on everything else pretty much. Outside of he had like 16 yard scamper, but no one on this team has been good like running the ball. Like Stevenson and Gibson were both bad as well. So it's like I don't think you can. I think you can look at the interior line as much more of an issue there when not a single running back can get success between the tackles, and then Henderson can do what no one else on that roster can outside. So I think they just you got to ride that. Does he score again this week?
Yeah, I see it. I do see it. I like it. Yeah, especially with the Jets' inability, at least on like the deep threat too. Like they just don't contain the ball very well. So I feel like there's gonna be a lot of like loose pockets. I could definitely see a game where like they get in the red zone and they just like stuff it down. Like there's gonna be a good amount of opportunities for them. It's just a matter of game script.
Yeah, and with Kayshon Boutte out last week, I do want to hit on Kyle Williams, rookie that I think a lot of us in the dynasty space were excited about. 2 targets, but the important one is the one that he caught, which was a 70-yard touchdown from Drake May. A beautiful throw, just a very tight window, but still lots of respect for the rookie for making the most of that target, which is exactly what Drake May said. He goes, yeah, I gave him like one catchable ball, and he certainly made the most of it, and it just outran everybody. So I'm actually really excited to see how he's used this week. I still like Kayshon Boutte as a player, but it's just nice to get an additional look at Kyle Williams on Thursday night. I mean, just another deep threat here who could kind of cook this Jets secondary. So I'm excited to see who scores. It's not a matter of like, will there be explosives? It's who's going to be on the receiving end of it for Drake May. All right. Lots of good Patriots talk there. Commanders, Dolphins. Looking like, I don't know, what we would have expected to be maybe a better game than what we're going to get here in terms of just NFL relevance. But the Dolphins coming off a huge win against Buffalo. And this Commanders defense is really struggling, so much so that Dan Quinn is now going to be taking over play calling duties for the defensive side of the ball, which I will say, I actually think that will make a difference. I think Dan Quinn's like a great defensive mind. But what are we expecting here? Are you expecting like any sort of shootout with how the Dolphins defense can perform, or have they proven enough now after that 1 week in Buffalo that like the Commanders might actually just be, from a fantasy standpoint, just there's just nothing exciting there. Let's attack all Dolphins this week against this pretty bad Commanders defense.
Yeah, I don't really see it. I mean, I know we really talked about the beginning of the season, like the vibes, at least with this Dolphins team.
They flipped.
I know, yeah. Like
it was all the GM, I guess. It was all
right, yeah. Little did we know. No, but I mean, personally, I favor the Dolphins this week. I'm going to call it now. I think it's going to be a good Waddle breakout game.
Love it. Yeah.
I'm
Oh, and
excited
I will
for
say
it.
this is the 9:30 game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Madrid. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be an away game for both. Obviously, just with them, traveling. But I think it's a decent opportunity for them to get like consecutive wins at least for this season. And at least with Washington, like they're just beat up. It's really tough to get any kind of momentum, especially with like sustaining so many injuries on both sides of the ball. But like you're looking at a team for the Commanders that they've literally they've allowed like almost 40 some points, and I think it was almost like 470 some like yards at least per game just for this month. So like there's really not much, at least to their defense, where they can kind of build momentum and get an offense going. Like even with Mariota, who I would argue hasn't really been really fitting the standard, and really hard to see that Jaden Daniels injury with his elbow. But you got to play what you're dealt with, regardless of the fact. So I mean, at least for this, I definitely favor the Dolphins. I think that a great momentum builder team to just kind of dig their shoes in and have a fun game.
So on the Commander side, so this backfield's shaking up. Just I think everyone's kind of unusable. Now we're getting Chris Rodriguez more in the mix. I do like deep down think there could be like not breakout's not the right word, but this could be like a positive Bill game. Not just with how this team has been against the run. But it's not something you can bet on at all. So I don't think there's a single Commander I'm starting out. Maybe like even Debo, I don't feel great about. And then Ertz on the other side is like, to me, he was much more of like a mid tight end one, but I think he's just more on the lower end now. I think you're probably starting him in like a 12 team league, but I wouldn't expect too much. But again, international game, someone like we said last week, there's always one. It seems like all the points get concentrated to just like one or two players in these international games, and I'm with you. I think that it's a Waddle game, and I think Tua is a pretty solid start as well. Honestly, just pairing that with your take.
Yeah, I like the Bill call actually. I mean, at least as of like recently, like the run play calling for them has just like not been creative enough. At least for like how well he was doing on that first like stretch of weeks, with like how efficient he would run the ball. But no, if they can like kind of put it in his favor, I could definitely see him having a kind of a bounce back game from the last couple of games that they've had.
Yeah, and I hate to kind of say this too, but like this is kind of the perfect example. And when there's a player like Bill, specifically like in Dynasty, where he's around 7 pick and he's getting all of this hype, or before the season started, you could have potentially flipped him for a first round pick in Dynasty. That's how, and there are real trades that were done that were for a first. It might have been like a 2028 first, right? It might not have been anytime soon, but like you kind of have to, you have to accept those deals, and you've like really lost your window now. And I'm in a league where I have a lot of, living in the DC area, there's a lot of Commanders fans in the home leagues that I play in. And I have Bill in one. I actually did try to sell him. I just didn't really I probably would have moved him for like a second. Couldn't even get that. So if he has a nice little game here, I think I might try to salvage that last bit of value and move him. But we'll see what happens. So it's kind of what I'm hoping for. Fun player, but this backfield is just a mess, and this team's kind of a mess, and it's a good candidate for them to add, invest more into a running back, either in this next draft or this offseason. All right. Packers at Giants. Packers kind of, I don't know, stinking it up on Monday night. Good defensive, good football game, not good fantasy game. And then they'll be visiting the Giants, who just let go of their head coach and Brian Daboll, decide to keep general manager Joe Schoen. So certainly lots of emotion and change, I'm assuming, in that organization. I know Daboll like really has that reputation as being like a player's coach. And also has like some temperament with that, where who knows how that landed with some people in the organization, because certainly some incidents in the past with their old defensive coordinator. I don't know, but they picked a direction and they stuck with the GM. A bit surprising to me. I actually a big fan of Brian Daboll as a coach, and excited to see where he goes. He's the one that was beating the drum for Jackson Dart. So I think he should get credit where credit is due there. Jackson Dart does leave last week's game with a concussion, and we'll see if he can clear to play. So there's some like speculation that that's like what contributed to this, is just not taking care of Dart. I don't know. Obviously we don't know anything. We're the last people who would get this news. But yeah, so it's just interesting. I want to say this would be like a lopsided game, but I don't really like what I'm seeing from the Packers lately, to be honest. I think Jordan Love's really been struggling. Tucker Kraft being out just lost a huge element of the makeup of this team. And I don't know, Giants like still got good players on that defensive line. I don't know how much they can just lean on like Jacob. So I think if Dart plays, like this could actually be a kind of fun, potentially upset type of game. Giants are at home. And I've said it before here. Sometimes when coaches get fired, these teams just like overperform. I don't. Maybe it's when they don't like the coach. Like if these guys like Dable, maybe maybe they won't. I don't know. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on this one? I'll stop talking.
So I'm basing this entirely off of when I checked, at least on his status. It's still questionable, but it was the most recent update of he's as of now not expected to play because they want to take it slow with his recovery. They want to actually like take his injury into account and kind of like nurse it back where they can. Kind of like to your point. Yeah, kind of to your point of like not rushing him back in these situations. So that, I feel like I'll keep queuing the vibes up, but I feel like that kind of takes a hit to the team, like that morale. Like you can't Scatabo, who is out. Like we're talking like he's now streaming World of Warcraft on his own, doing that, which is great. I love that for him. But like you missed him, who's a big player to the team. Jackson Dart now has a concussion, most likely out for this weekend. Like I guess it's mostly just about like how they're going to kind of fit it together. I mean, I know JMO is a big morale guy, and I know he can kind of get the team going with a lot of the very corny things that I know he does. But I don't know. I love how that Packers D played. Like at least as like an Eagles fan, and like watching every single play from the game, like that was like almost, it felt like a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I think at least in these circumstances, like where you have, a QB coming back in that's now fitting back in, not like fitting back in, but like coming back into the scheme to like almost reestablish his footing for like at least enough of a game. With how well that Packers team did, I see a game where that defense takes control of the field, and, regardless of how poor Jordan Love did, I think he's going to get a decent chunk of time to like at least put something together and perform hopefully throughout the game. So I have Packers favorite on this personally. But yeah, honestly, it could end up being a closer game, at least than most would expect, especially with Jameis Winston. Like he's just a slinger. So we'll see.
I was say, how you fix vibes. You throw Jameis in that starting lineup, like it just changes everything. So that'd be fun. Yeah, the Packers kind of seem to be like that classic case of like playing to your opponent's level. Right, they lose to the Browns and then have like a keep it very close with the Eagle. Right, it's just like that's sort of what they are to me. And I don't know, they have some things to figure out for sure. This pass catcher group's a little bit interesting. I know Romeo Doubs gets a little bit banged up. I shouted him out on the show last week where I really liked like what we've seen from Christian Watson, knowing that he's coming off an ACL, which is not an easy recovery. So I actually do still think he could be like a sneaky guy. Like I think that they have a pretty good schedule coming up for pass catchers. So I don't know. I think there still is some room here for someone to emerge, and it's not like you have to go invest a ton to get them. Like you can go get them on your waivers most likely, in redraft, or like get him for pennies. I think he's like a buy low legitimately. I don't know. Maybe that's just believing in what we saw in year one from him. But we've been talking this whole time about how the Packers need a wide receiver one, hoping it would be Matthew Golden, obviously dealing with his own injuries. But it could just be Christian Watson. Oh, yeah, and for everyone that was hoping Luke Musgrave would just simply replace Tucker Kraft's production, that obviously was never going to happen.
Yeah, no, vibes are low on that one.
Yeah, that was a crazy take. Well, not by us.
Yeah, no, we did not. Yeah, not by any means. But like, yeah, like I wouldn't have seen that in a world with that kind of production. Like Tucker Kraft was just being unreal.
Yes. All right. Texans at Titans. What a game for the Texans. I think most fun game of this past week, I would say. What a comeback. Davis Mills slinging it, leaning on Nico Collins, which you love to see, an insane performance from Nico. Underrated catch of the season is probably his 2-point conversion reception, which obviously not as huge of a highlight since it's not a touchdown, but just love to see Nico at his peak here. And, they get this reeling Titans team as well. It does look like, so as of today, recording this on Wednesday, Stroud, it says he's still showing symptoms of concussion. So, not officially ruled out yet, but there is a chance that Davis Mills gets a second start here on the road against the Titans. And I'm looking for injury updates on my favorite NFL kicker, Kaimi Fairbairn, the GOAT, because he missed last week with his quad injury. And I don't know, getting back to what we talked about at the top of the show, I don't know, how do you report kicker injuries? Because I have no clue what he's dealing with or if he's coming.
I couldn't even tell you. They've got one job.
Maybe these beat reporters just don't care. They're not saying if he's kicking or not at practice. I don't know, but he is the in points per game #1 fantasy kicker. So if he's on waivers, I seriously go stash him. You want guys that on offenses that can't score in the red zone and can kick 50-yard field goals, and that's kind of what his thing has been for the last 3 years. Okay, other story with the Texans is we've been fooled once. Hopefully, we're not fooled twice here. It looks like the Woody Marks takeover is completely here. Nick Chubb, just snap percentage very low. So this was Woody Marks' true dominance of the backfield. And what we had seen from Woody, we had seen these very game script dependent roles for the two, where if they were playing with the lead, it was probably Nick Chubb in there. Or if it was neutral, it was probably Nick Chubb. And then if they were playing from behind, it was most likely Woody Marks on the field. However, they actually start this game. Woody Marks, I believe, starts the first 7 drives before Nick Chubb gets to carry. So clearly, game script didn't matter here. They're trying to lean on who they believe their best players are, which right now seems to be Woody Marks and Nico Collins.
Yeah, I mean, at least for this game, I think it's gonna be in the Texans' hands essentially, at least of how that offense can do. I love that Woody Marks is finally catching his footing on this team against, I kept saying it, a robotic running Nick Chubb. I like to see that explosiveness, that ability to break out, kind of make those extended plays. And that's really what that Houston team needed in a lot of those down situations I've kind of seen over the last couple of games. But at least for now, this Houston D,
so good.
It's so good. And the Titans just can't, the pass rush is horrible. They just can't protect the ball. And I don't see a world where that does well against this amazing Houston defense. It's gonna be tough for Cam Ward. I don't know how he's gonna really make it out of it without losing a limb, to say the least. But I guess on the flip, the only players I can really think outside of the Titans for Titans D to kind of press this offense a little bit is Jeffrey Simmons, but he's not even guaranteed to come back for this Week 11 game. So I don't really know. It really just is. It's in Stroud's hands to kind of make something out of this game. There's really not much that's going to press him. I think he's going to have a lot of time in the pocket. So if he can kind of extend plays, kind of get downfield, work the secondary, I don't really see how they're not going to absolutely smack this Titans team.
Can I say something kind of controversial here?
Yeah, let me hear it.
All right. I want Davis Mills to start.
Ooh.
I want them. Okay. Okay. First, preface.
He looks good.
Stroud is much better.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should, for our fantasy owners' sakes, they should arrest Stroud. They should take the cautious approach. They know they're going to win this game. You don't need Stroud. You're fine. Chargers, they kept it close. That was a fluke. Titans aren't scoring 2 defensive touchdowns again or whatever. Punt return. I love how Davis Mills has just been absolutely feeding Nico Collins. And so I guess one of 2 things can happen. I need Mills to start, or Stroud can have learned something from watching this Mills tape of how many good things can happen when you feed your best player. Just throwing it out there. Maybe not something on CJ Stroud's radar right now. He likes to spread it out. I totally get it. But it's so fun seeing Nico like be as good as we had hoped he would be in fantasy these last 2 weeks. And the common denominators that he's been playing with Davis Mills. So I don't know. So I'm not fading Texans if like Mills starts again. I think he's fine.
No, he's actually a really viable option. Like I actually picked him up for a team where I, had Joe Flacco on a bye and worked out phenomenally. Yeah. Like I was expecting a reasonable game just to kind of fill in points, get, 15 to 16. But like well outblew my expectations. And at least watching back some of the clips from that game, like I thought he was really composed, like in a lot of those situations, and did a pretty reasonable job. So your point, like finally bringing out that fantasy value in Nico that we've been looking for a good portion of the season, and like pretty consistently too. If they can like extend that, why not? To your point, like play him, like play the guy that's like working your best player and like actually getting like the draft capital out of it. Like,
spamming your best receiver with targets will get you wins.
What could go wrong?
No. Also, I do really like what we're seeing from the rest of this receiving core too. For Houston, I think they hit on both of these picks in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Higgins now seems to really be again like, and just a reminder because like we can get the dynasty brain where we like expect it's weird because if you're playing dynasty, it is truly like a game of patience for these rookies to earn roles and earn just like in any job, right? Like you don't get a job as like an engineer and you're instantly like on the most critical project, like right. You gotta work things up. Like it's real life for these NFL players too. It's a job. It's an organization. There's a learning curve. And not every player is going to be Puka Nacua or Jamar Chase. So the fact that Higgins has now really earned his way onto the field in 2 receiver sets, I think it's a really good sign. Just a good player opposite Nico Collins. And he's able to capitalize on a really nice touchdown this past week as well. Just getting to benefit from playing opposite Nico Collins. And then Jalen Noel had a really nice leaping grab as well. So I think he can play. This could be a really fun receiving core for the future once they fix this offensive line, which is still actually playing a little bit better than we probably thought it would. All right, Titans side. Any interest in DK, in tight end Gunnar Helm? Well, we got like any deep stashes here. What are we doing with this backfield? What do we think is going to happen here? Because after their bye, like this Pollard Spears split. Why didn't they trade Pollard? Okay, did we talk about that? Like them not wanting to trade with New England allegedly because like they're against Vrabel, which makes no sense because they fired him. So. Lots of thoughts there. Poor Tony Pollard. Free Tony Pollard.
Yeah, like he's shackled up. And I like feel so bad because like at least based on like his time here in Tennessee, like I don't think reasonably it reflects like what he exponentially could and like what his ceiling could be if he actually had like a decent line. Which is a shame. You never want to see that for some of these players. But to your point, like they didn't take advantage. I don't even know if they really had any of like impactful trades before this deadline. Like none really stuck out to me, at least that I
know they got rid of one fairly significant player. I feel I can't even on the defensive side.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, like
I'm not showing elite ball knowledge right now, but
just let the man go. Like let him be free. Like let him go frolic in the fields of the Patriots. That would have been insane. That would have been a great addition. And I know that would have impacted a lot of like the Travion owners, but. I don't really like at least with how Tony Pollard is in that ground and pound kind of running back that he can be. Like I think he would have been a pretty reasonable fit. But yeah, just like tough. I don't like no one really stands out to me at least right now where like I would feel confident going in and being like, oh yeah, I can play him as a reliable flex. Like I don't really see much for this game, especially with like how good this Houston defense has been.
I'm with you. I was a big buy low on Tony Pollard type of guy. And the reasoning was that this Titans offensive line was supposed to be very good.
Mhm.
And that has not happened. And then it was
In
kind of just like
quotation marks.
Cam Ward's got to be an upgrade over Mason Rudolph. So if the offense takes a step forward, because Terry Pollard was pretty solid last season, it was just there weren't really touchdown opportunities. So I was kind of like viewing it as like the Terry McLaurin of running backs. Like, he's very consistent and efficient with his touches. If he can just get an upgrade in quarterback in situation that leads to more touchdowns, like he could kind of have that resurgent season. And unfortunately, it just hasn't been there for him. But when I saw him play in person 2 weeks ago at that Chargers game, he was like really fun to watch. Like he's shifty. He was making guys miss, and it's like the amount of work he has to do to get back to the line of scrimmage, and to be able to like putting up the yards per carry that he is, it's incredibly impressive. So I still think he's a good player. I hope he can get out of there. And I hope dynasty owners should take the opposite advice. They should not do what the Titans do. Is if you need to make deals that make your team and your situation better, not try to like spite other owners or like prevent someone else from getting better. In dynasty, like I think in every deal, both teams should get better. Like, I don't know. I think there's so many people that they're so focused on like you want to fleece or you want to get this like huge value win, and that's if that's your mindset, you probably just don't ever make trades. And for example, I'll give an example. I have lots of fun dynasty trades this week. I made a trade that involved some assets, but part of it was a flip of Goff and Brock Purdy, who like right now in dynasty value, if you look at like keep trade cut, they're like equal. But the problem is I'm trying to lose right now because I'm eliminated from playoffs. Not really in my control. Just tough situation of points allowed and injuries and things like that. So I actually don't really want Goff right now because he's killing my PF and my max PF, which is determining draft order. So I'm like, I view them similarly. I'm a huge Purdy guy. So I'm like, okay, I'll get 5 years younger. And yeah, he's not putting up points, but this other team, yeah, he gets older at quarterback, which hurts him, but he's competing. So he's getting points from Goff. So it's like, I don't know. You gotta like decide what you're trying to do. And sometimes like losing a deal is winning a deal. I don't know if that makes sense, but I want to do more trade videos because it's fun to talk about because there's so many different situations that can happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure the dynasty calculator is so much different, at least for like potential outlook and like technically, like I guess you could do like a years to points kind of conversion of like expected outcomes for like years to come on like a 5-year, like sample size, like almost like simulated. But no, that's actually a really reasonable look, especially if you're not, dealing with the unfortunate like redraft situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
yes, like
yeah.
I'm looking to build long term. Right now, I'm not competing. This team is competing, and they're really struggling at their QB2 because it's super flex. I'm like, obviously, like Purdy's not worth as much to you as Goff is. Like, but to me, again, the importance of tiers, similar tier. So there were other assets involved, so it wasn't just like a 1-for-1. But still, like some people might be like, oh, why would you want the guy who's injured? It's like, no, because I want no points. I literally want no points.
And then capitalize for next season because that team is like trying to be healthy, and they do have like Super Bowl contending like roster if they could get everyone healthy. Yeah. But yeah,
this is the first time I've ever been in like a rebuild in Dynasty. Not to flex, but my teams are usually pretty good, and this one's it's kind of fun because it's just like I haven't been in this situation before, so it's like how do I salvage like what I can? So like I made a trade for Neighbors right after he got hurt. Mm-hmm. It's fun when you have bad luck. Just accept it. Like I could have kept trying to compete and like throwing in my picks and like I don't know. Like I had to unload Christian McCaffrey, and you think that's dumb? I got 2 firsts and I think like a second. And I've looked every game I've lost since then. I'm like, if I just inserted McCaffrey in my lineup, would I have won? And the answer is still no. I'm just like, people are just putting up like 180 on me like all the time. Like, great. All right. I'm glad I could get something for it and like have a ton of picks for the future. Like excited to rebuild. All right. Oh, there's actually a good segue here. Rebuilding.
Such a good positive note.
Rebuilding. We got the Panthers here. What is happening here with Bryce Young? It seems like there's just no trust at all. I mean, he put up less than 2 fantasy points this past week. Just brutal outing. Not really much to be excited about. They just continue to be a ground and pound team, but Rico Dowdle at the very least, he's like come back down to earth a bit. Which I think we kind of talked about on the show is like as his two big games were what, the Bears and the well, definitely the Cowboys, and it was either the Bears or the Bengals. One of these other teams that are just like free points to running backs. I think Bengals.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like, yeah, I don't know. I there's not a ton to be excited about here. I think we're probably all pretty disappointed in the Teteroa McMillan just production for the opportunity that should be here. There's some excitement with Jalen Coker working his way back into more of a full-time role. Yeah, I don't know. Not a lot to be excited about here. And then on the other side, it's like the complete opposite, where there's a lot to be excited about. Just kind of some inconsistency on the Falcons side. But we're just continuing to get monster performances out of Drake London. Just what a stud. I think I think he needs to be in that elite receiver tier for fantasy and like for dynasty. Like I think he's that good. I mean, he has several wide receiver 1 weeks on the season. Yeah. Should be a fun one here. Falcons been struggling against the run. Panthers are going to want to run it. So let's see. Can Rico Dowdle do what Jonathan Taylor did this past week?
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, if the Falcons can kind of copy that, almost like that mimic defense that a lot of the teams have at least been doing, over like they can contain Bryce Young and Dowdle on the line, I think they're going to have a really great opportunity to like succeed, at least for this week. But I kind of definitely favor the Falcons coming up against this kind of weathered Carolina Panthers team. Like I want another Bijan breakout game. I think it's due.
I play him this week, so you're set. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Because it's been tough like the last like 2 weeks at least with
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, like seeing that, seeing his rate at least. But I think at least for right now, like the Panthers have allowed what I think it was 157 rushing yards per game, 4.9 yards per carry. And just with like how skilled Bijan is, like I just think he's like primed to just have a fun game. Like I think it's due. I love London, like I have him in a few leagues. But I feel like they're going to need the run game to like succeed, to at least like break away for this game. Because I think it's definitely going to be close. I think it's going to be down to the wire. You might literally see it win by like a field goal. But just overall, yeah, like this could go either one of two ways. Definitely favor Falcons, but yeah, like the Panthers defense just been struggling. Like I think it's really just tough to kind of get any kind of momentum, especially with like, Tet not having the expectations that we've had, and some of these players that at least with like these insane explosive games, kind of like maintaining a little bit like a reasonable consistency. So we'll see. I think it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be one of the more fun games of the week. Where I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but I think there's gonna be a lot of fantasy value.
You brought up the run game, and you're associating that with Bijan Robinson. However,
don't even get me started about Tyler Algier.
We have to talk about Tyler Algier. He's a good player.
Yeah,
I think they really like him in the red zone right now. Do you think that changes? Are they gonna like overcorrect now and say, "Oh, we probably shouldn't have taken away all these opportunities from our star in Bijan," or is it just, hey, like when we're in the red zone and we need some tough yards between the tackle, it's not risk a Bijan injury. Let's ground and pound with Tyler Algier. Because if we're expecting them to move the ball well against the Panthers here, that could lead to a lot of red zone opportunities, which may not be Bijan. You might need to be hoping for a Bijan long touchdown run, which he can certainly do.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes in the conversation of like Tyler Algier is actually like a reasonable flex option with like how many looks he gets in the red zone. And that might sound crazy to some, but I think when you have like, to your point, with these red zone opportunities, like he's like that go-to guy. Like they always bring him out when they can give him those opportunities. So yeah, like if he's literally going to put up, 2 garbage touchdowns on the 1 or 2, and you're going to get 6 to 7 points out of it, like you might as well pick him up. Like it doesn't even make sense of, I hate that it's split in that kind of circumstance, just based on being a Bijan owner. But like you kind of got to come to terms with it, where it's like it's football at the end of the day, and like this is the scheme that's like working for them in these opportunities, and they're going to put Algier in regardless of what happens.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think he's just for me, just more like he's definitely in the must-own handcuffed here. I don't know if I'd be comfortable necessarily flexing yet, because I think it was like 17 points this week, and then it was 0.6 the week before. So that's the volatility you're working with there. But no, I totally hear you on there is enough opportunity there that absolutely in desperation, like especially in this type of game script where it could, one of the ways it could go could be pretty favorable for the Falcons. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, maybe I should have a little bit. I should have
No, stand
expressed it a little
your
more.
ground. No, you
but more,
stand
yeah, more so like with those opportunities, I think that there's a great like opportunity for him to explode in certain game scripts. Not necessarily like every single game. He's not like a must start for me.
Oh no, I don't think. I didn't.
Yeah.
Take
Okay.
It, no.
All right,
I'm
just
sure
making sure. I don't need anyone listening to this and then coming at me.
No, I have. I'm trying to think. No, you give the better advice here. So. Bears Vikings. The player that I think, which we are on an absolute hot streak with our thumbnail, low-key our thumbnail doubles as a go bet for that player to score a touchdown. I will say, Evan, my thumbnail for this week is in this game. Any guess?
Vikings D's tough. Is it crazy or is it something that like relatively?
We want people to win money. All right. So fairly obvious, I guess.
All right. Then I would probably have it as like, I don't know, like a Jetson touchdown, like,
oh yeah.
I feel like at least how these every single game's been like a shootout with the Bears. So that just like makes sense.
It's a Justin Jefferson breakout game. Disappointed a lot of owners. I'm sure this past week, myself included, and is going to bounce back here, I think, and could have a monster game against this Bears defense. Actually, they played in week 1, if people remember, the JJ McCarthy like terrible 3 quarters and then one really good 4th quarter where they win. And Jefferson was not very involved early on, and then he finished with 4 for 44 and a touchdown. I think he'll absolutely smash that, and I expect him to score again here. In this game, I think it's going to be a really fun game for the Vikings offense and really just a good glimpse of what JJ McCarthy can do in a situation that should be fairly easy for him. Like he shouldn't be struggling against this defense, even being in like his 5th start in the NFL. So I think it'll just be a good look from like that prospect standpoint. And yeah, Bears are pretty fun. I think one of my favorite pickups that at least for redraft that you can get on waiver still is Luther Burden. Lots of really positive buzz coming out about him. We have a DJ Moore injury, but we also have Ben Johnson saying that there's a very strong argument to be made that Luther Burden deserves more touches. So tough matchup here, but I saw some conspiracy theories out there where maybe Luther Burden's they're waiting to unleash him in some of these divisional games.
Yeah, I'm like, this is probably one of my favorite games, at least for this week. Like, I think it's going to be probably, I would think, like a pretty fairly high scoring game. Like, at least as of like when you compare like how this game is probably going to pan out to like the season opener when they first played, like the Bears held them. Like it was almost like a cold start for Minnesota and then fired up, came back, explosively fun game. And as of recent, like it's kind of been weird. It's like Minnesota will get hot in the beginning and then just like kind of putter off towards those mid to late game. So at least for this, I see it being a kind of a fun shootout in that beginning of the game. And then I feel like Minnesota might just lose steam, or it'll come down to like an on the wire, keep the momentum. Those are kind of like the 2 different scripts that I see. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like just the way that Chicago's been, like it's been fun, and I really think that if they don't involve Odunze in this matchup, it's probably going to be tough. A little bit unsure. I guess we're kind of seeing a little bit more clarity, at least where like Monangai fits into the greater script a bit with Swift back. So that's been nice to see like a 1-game script for that, especially going against like a pretty tough Minnesota team that's done a pretty reasonable job of like holding the run. But yeah, we're going to see. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. I think you're going to see like Addison kind of have good games. Jetson's going to go explosive.
Just I really like Jalen Naylor too as the third there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think it's just gonna be fun. I think overall, like this is gonna be one of those more like fun games where like you can kind of throw it on and get a lot of action, at least throughout the majority of the game, rather than just like putting on the Eagles Packers and it's just a defensive game the entire time.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Caleb does against this defense in round 2 here. Yeah, I did want to throw Jalen Naylor out there just because he seems to really have a connection with McCarthy, kind of like that rookie to rookie connection, which we very often see with quarterbacks as they're coming into the NFL. I think he's averaging I want to say it's like four plus targets a game with McCarthy. So it's like pretty solid value there that actually like even a 12 team competitive dynasty league, shallow-ish benches for dynasty, but not that shallow. I got Jalen Naylor off waivers today. I'm thrilled.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And just because player to player comparisons are really fun, even though it's like the worst thing to do. In terms of fantasy performance, I think what Jalen Naylor could do down the stretch here, it could be like a Jalen McMillan-esque stretch from last season, if the people remember, where he was just kind of as that third option in the Bucs offense. I guess he was dealing with the Godwin injury, but really just like finding ways to score and just connect with Baker. And, maybe there could be a mini little streak in here for Naylor as a depth piece for your championship runs. That might be too crazy, but just good pickup.
I like the confidence, though. I do, yeah.
You gotta be confident, yeah.
I think it also
if anything grows on a weekly basis, doing this every week with you, it's, you become more confident and convicted, and you start to like get things right. Like, wow, I know what I'm talking about. And then you find a way to get humbled. All right. Chargers, Jaguars. We talked about the Texans comeback, so I think that also kind of means we need to talk a little bit about the Jaguars collapse this past week. But this should be a pretty fun game, I think. Jaguars looking to really get right. I think the body language, Liam Cohen does not like Trevor Lawrence. I really liked his quote today because talk about being right. No, we were saying this earlier on in the season where like with Trevor, it was like there's a lot of dropped interceptions. There's a lot of bad decision making, and somehow the Jaguars are getting bailed out, and these defenses are just not holding onto the ball. And this is actually pretty much exactly what Liam Cohen said this week was, well, now like things aren't tipping our way. Like what used to be like tip balls or dropped interceptions, like the Texans got. So it's like these things, you can't sustain that positive luck forever. So you have a little bit of a reeling Jags team here that like beat the Chiefs in prime time and are now kind of struggling here. And I even with the offensive line issues that are happening in Los Angeles, Herbert, like just hard to watch play because he's taking insane hits. Just felt like every play this past week he was just taking a monster hit. Doesn't matter though, because he's just finding his guy Ladd McConkey. It's like that ball is getting snapped and it is in Ladd McConkey's hands, like within like a second and a half, and it's working. So really excited about what the Chargers are doing on offense. Really relieved that Oronde Gadsden injury not serious, just a bruise. He did get an MRI on the knee. Was very concerned it would be like me, not the team. I was very concerned it could have been like a season-ending type thing, which is based on how they handled it, but ends up not being severe and should play this week. Keenan Allen is kind of demoted to a part-time player now. So how are you viewing this Chargers offense? Something I feel like we've kind of talked about almost every week. And it was like shuffling our opinions the first few weeks of the season. And I think you and I have pretty much been on the same page where it's kind of like, this is the Ladd offense now. And that's been pretty consistent this past month.
Yeah, because Herbert's really been relying on Ladd, at least as like a crutch in a lot of these like high pressure situations. Like with Joe Alt gone, it's been so clear, at least as of right now, like what Ladd's new role is for like the impact he's going to have on the offense. Like with how much time Herbert used to have in the pocket, he could pick and choose like his best option on every play. And now like they're in these like high pressure situations where like I don't think it's really going to get much better, at least for this game, like with how like kind of well this Jacksonville defense has been doing. Like they've got
outside
sacks.
of last week. Yeah,
like six sacks in the last 6 games on over 230 dropbacks. Like that's pretty insane, at least. And that kind of a pressure of a defense, I think, is going to put it in a really similar situation where you're going to see like a lot of Ladd play. I think they're going to have to rely on him. So I would definitely, keep Ladd in that upper tier of wide receivers, at least for the rest of the season. Like he's going to have to. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun, like pretty close game. Like the Jaguars offense is like oddly like trying to figure it out with, like the loss of Travis Hunter. Brian Thomas Jr. potentially might be back this week. I don't know the full injury report. At least I saw that there was potential for him to be back for this week. But yeah, at least like on the season, averaging 101 rushing yards per game. So I see a world where ETN gets a lot of usage. They're gonna have to. Parker Washington, I picked him up 2 weeks ago on waiver wires, and I was absolutely thrilled about like the role that he had to take on. I think you're going to kind of see that turn at least in these next couple of games while Jakobi Meyers kind of finds his footing in this offense. Just because he's a pretty reasonable player to come into this offense that's been pretty beat up. They don't really have like a surefire guy, at least that Trevor Lawrence has been like go to every game. So it's kind of one of those teams like I'm still trying to figure out, especially with like how well BTJ did last year, and now like you don't really know like what the sure shot vibes are for like who's going to do well. Like BTJ doesn't even look like he wants to like play half the time. Like it hasn't been as explosive as we've seen him. Like just doesn't really have the hands that he used to. And I hate saying that because he's so good, but I just don't know where he is this season. I just like can't read it.
It is one of the more bizarre storylines of this season. It's just, I totally get it. Like sophomore slump, like you'll have a few. It's just he hasn't even flashed the same upside. Really, like it's really, really bizarre.
His floor is like nowhere near where I would have had him pictured. And I hate to say that.
I wanted to say that makes him a buy low, not for redraft. I'm staying far away from him for this season, but like for Dynasty, just hoping that next year he could ascend in year 3. But it's like this is a bad season. Like it's not just like disappointing or underwhelming. It's bad. But then I'm also the same guy who's going to go to bat for like Marvin Harrison here in a second. So, but still. So I guess if you still believe in the upside of like top 5 of last year, you have to go buy him and pay what you can to go get him. But yeah, just tricky. Jakobi Meyers did have a touchdown called back. So, they definitely involved there, but you're right. Like, I think it'll still take time to get his footing here. This could be a really interesting receiving core next year. If, is Myers on the last year of his deal? Yeah, he was because he wanted out of Vegas, which is why they had to trade him. So, okay, if he resigns, then it's really interesting with Thomas, Hunter, Myers, and Parker Washington who can play. We'll see what happens here. This will be a big game for Trevor Lawrence, to be quite honest. The Chargers defense looked awesome against Rodgers. So we'll see what happens here. All right. Bucks at Bills. Always have to put Bucks instead of Buccaneers because I can never spell it correctly. Should be a bit of a fun game here. So we got Bills coming off a bad loss, and now they get this nice defense here where I think Josh Allen should probably feast against the secondary. But the problem that they weren't able to address during the trade deadline was this receiving core. You do have, Keon Coleman making some good grabs as of late, but there's a Dalton Kincaid injury. I don't know. I think the Bills could actually like struggle again here, despite what on paper looks like it should be a really good matchup for them.
Yeah, this will be one of those like interesting ones where you have two teams both coming off of like pretty like tough losses. It's like not ones that we would have really pinned up. But I think that's kind of like the beauty of it. It's like, you have these teams that are like, they've done like so well. They've got such great talent. And now it's like, okay, like where are we? Like we're halfway through the season and like, we're still trying to figure it out in certain positions. But like at least looking at this, like I can see, I can see a pretty fun game overall. Like if Josh Allen can kind of get back in and like find his footing, at least for this game specifically, like I like to your point, I could see it where like he just runs the field. Like for at least for him to come back and like that conversation for like, an MVP season, I think he's going to have to. But yeah, overall, like it's going to be tough. Like the Buccaneers missing like their top options. I think that really puts them in kind of a tough situation. And if they can get creative and kind of make the most of, what the cards that they have, it could be a fun game. But at least like looking at this, I think the Bills are probably going to run away for a good portion of the game. And it might just be unsustainable for, the Bucs to kind of close that gap.
Yeah, it's just the Bills are just another team right now that's just so inconsistent. That defense has been good at times, and then this past week was really bad. And with the Bucks, like when I think of the Bucks defense, I think like I still view them as a very strong run defense. But then, Travion Henderson, of course, broke loose on those 2 runs, and I want to attribute Henderson to that, rather than say like the Bucks can't contain the edge. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. I wouldn't be surprised if like James Cook struggles, because we know with him from fantasy, it's like he's either putting up 25 or 6. Like it's like there's never like it feels like there's never like an in between with James Cook, and he's a good player, of course. So I just this is one of the trickier ones for me to predict, I would say. But you're right. 2 teams looking to bounce back. It should give us a good game at the very least.
Yeah. You'll probably see a good game out of like Travis Hunter, or sorry, Sean. Why did I say Travis Hunter? Sean Tucker. I don't know why my mind is immediately on.
Ooh, is it Tucker over White now?
I want to say like I mean like at least as of like this team right here, looking at the Bills, like that's probably been like one of the toughest kind of battles they've dealt with, is like how much they let up on like the rush. Like I have it jotted down here, but like 153 rush yards per game allowed for that Bills defense. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to kind of see, to see Tucker kind of have a fun game.
Yeah, no, I still like White as a fantasy option. I think Tucker could also, I think he could still be viable in a deeper league, certainly. But yeah, it's been a fun split. Like, I don't know. I like White, what he does in the passing game, but he has been kind of disappointing as of late. And yeah, this is going to be a pretty solid team. Like these are 2, I think both are good NFL players. Like again, Syracuse guys. So we'll bring up Sean Tucker whenever I can. I try to have him, Gadsden, and LeQuint Allen on all my teams. Just get the orange trio there, but we'll see. It's always good luck. All right, Bengals Steelers, a bit of a rematch because we had this one on Thursday night a few weeks back, which was awesome. That was like every tight end scored. T. Higgins had a big. It was just an incredible game all around. Do you think we get that? Do we get another shootout, another day where every fantasy manager is happy, or is it going to be a little bit different this time around in Pittsburgh?
I don't know. I mean, like, with how bad the Bengals D is, it's not like anywhere out of the realm of possibility where like this turns into a shootout. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers has done a pretty reasonable job to like succeed in this like weird Steelers offense and like the situation that he has. So at least like looking at it, like I know like with how the Steelers D has been, that Jamar Chase is going to go like crazy. That Higgins is going to be an absolutely amazing support role for him, and maybe even like outshadow him in certain points of the game. But at least for this, like, I think it's gonna be a close game. Like, I think it's gonna be high scoring. I think you're definitely gonna see a shootout. Leaning into it, like I'm interested to see kind of how Chase Brown does this week.
Oh yeah. Kamani Vidal just like made that Steelers defense look silly. So
I know, yes. So I think it's gonna be it'll be interesting to kind of see like where he can kind of break through in these certain parts, because I think it is going to be kind of like that shootout kind of script where you see such huge usage out of these wide receivers. But I think he could actually have a pretty reasonable game and a good chunk of the role for this week.
And I wonder if the news about Burrow, obviously these are pro athletes, they're going to try to perform their best when they can, but I still believe in these like slight edges. I wonder if this news about Burrow potentially returning is going to motivate this team more to just be on their A game and not their like A- game.
Yeah, I mean, if that line can like show a glimpse of what they've done to protect Flacco, who I would think is like a glass cannon, maybe even see like a glimpse of that. But yeah, no, like definitely by far like an upgrade with him coming back. But if they can't protect him, like what's the value? It's like,
and he's not wrong. Like this division kind of is wide open right now. So if he can return at a point where they're still competitive, even if that's like week 13, week 14, which sounds like what he's aiming for, still could be. They still could go on and run, which is just wild to think about. All right, nice NFC West football matchup, which we got some great games in the NFC West this past weekend. 49ers at Cardinals. I'm just gonna pretend we know nothing about Brock Purdy because I want to say like this seems to be the most favored he's been to play, but like they've been saying that for a month now. So who knows who's playing at quarterback here? Cardinals will be without Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, absolute league winner. Oof, you are thrilled if you took him at that 2-3 turn. That's all I have to say. Is like Trey McBride just woo.
He's insane. Yeah, like I went against Trey McBride and Jonathan Taylor this past week. All-time morale crusher, just with how amazing he is. Like it's so ridiculous. Just some of these matches I do on a week-to-week basis. But no, this will be fun. Like this is like your surefire game. Like you know who you're starting. Like you know who your guys are. I think it's kind of just like played that role of like you have like those individuals that are explosive and they can like contribute to the field, and like there's no reason like why you wouldn't want to slot them up at the beginning of the game. But yeah, no, this will be fun. Like I think it's at home for Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's in Arizona. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I think it's gonna be a fun game. Like your Maserati Marv, who you know and love. Like I think it's gonna be a great game for him. Like I think
he's appendicitis, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So wow. Yeah. I don't know how they're gonna slate up then.
Well, Zay Jones Achilles injury. They have no one. Yeah, it's Trey McBride. Yeah.
And even like with the unsure running back situation, like I don't even know like where to make of any of the offense. Really tough. And yeah, wow. Okay. I'm shambled on this one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you there. Because again, like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, the rate is out of nowhere. You weren't going into this week at all thinking like, you could project Marv this week just fine, and then it's out of nowhere. You get that news. Yeah, but this card, I mean, the thing is the 49ers defense isn't very great. So like there still could be some play here. I think the only like outside of McBride, I guess like Michael Wilson now just by default becomes wide receiver 1. He actually could have a decent game. You know, that I think about that. I might need to think more about it because he's made some pretty good catches, especially with there being no Marv and no Zay Jones. But really, I think the most appealing guy here is probably Amari DeMercado, who has explosive ability. And right now, Bam Knight, there's an injury now picked up as well. So, I mean, they've been shuffling these running backs all year. I'm curious your thoughts on Trey Benson, who should be designated to return soon-ish. I think there's this assumption that he's just going to be the RB1, but I actually don't know if that's true. I don't think we actually saw that much out of Trey Benson that would completely justify him being a workhorse. I actually kind of think DeMercado could be kind of fun down the stretch here. Just really elite efficiency and gives the explosives. And seems to have remedied his relationship with the coaching staff after like being assaulted on the sideline for fumbling the ball. So big turnaround for him.
Yeah, like Benson, I'm not sold. I'm really not. Like, especially with like how unsure that whole like running back situation's been. I guess to like highlight it too, I think like Jacoby Brissett's been phenomenal, at least, especially like assuming the role that he's like tied into. And, like we talked a lot about it like the last like 2 weeks. About like how well like the difference in comparison is of like that Cardinals team does in comparison to like, you know, a Kyler Murray run offense, like night and day, which is like sad to say because I was pretty high on Kyler, at least coming in, just like having like Marvin Harrison have another great year, or at least like trying to have a breakout year. But this will be weird. This will be like an oddly fun one, but I'm favoring Niners in this. Like, you know, I don't really see too many situations, at least. It could come down to a close game, but I think the Niners will probably run away with it.
And the Niners we love because they're one of those teams where they're super easy to know who you're starting. I think either quarterback startable, regardless of who starts. Like low end QB1, you're obviously starting McCaffrey. We're starting Kittle. Finally got a monster Kittle game this past week. If Pearsall plays, I believe he started practicing this week. I think you slot him in as well. And then Juwan Jennings is, you know, a flex play too. So we kind of love these teams that make it easy for us here in Fantasyland. I will just get my Marv take out of the way as I have to do every single week. 3 catches on 12 targets. You know, hate to see it. Some truly just elite defensive play from these Seattle cornerbacks. And did you see his touchdown that he did not get that was punched out at the very
Hmm.
end. The fact that he even makes that catch is like absurd. So like it was actually this is one of my favorite Marv games because it flashed the spectacular catch ability. Is like the hands just need to be a bit stronger. So you kind of think with the size and him putting on the weight, he can get there. I think he's definitely not really going to be a great separator at the NFL level. I think we can kind of accept that at this point. But with his build, you have to be able to win some contested catches and make just some insane grabs. And he has the hands to do so. Just some things really didn't swing his way this past game, and not all of those balls were catchable. Okay, this is like the Twitter analysis of like, oh, three catches for 12 targets, so he had 9 drops. Like, no, like he didn't have 9. Like some of those are out of bounds, right? Like so not a pretty box score, but I have hope. I also just traded for him in a league in a dynasty, so I think I'm probably just coping. But said goodbye to Quinshon Judkins, said hello to Miles.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't know. I like Judkins' usage, but no, yeah. I mean, I guess that's to your point, like earlier where you said it's like the trade-offs of like what works for you on your team, like script. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
get it.
kind of an RB fader in Dynasty, to be quite honest, which actually it's not going great this season. But actually, that's not true. Well, because I have like Kamani Vidal on that team. Like, I don't need Judkins.
No, yeah.
Like seriously, like it sounds stupid, but it's like I think running back in the weirdest way is like you just need someone with an opportunity. Like I don't know if I need a big name, especially as RB2. Kind of like having an anchor, like running back 1. But for RB2, it's like if I can capitalize on the name and like the age, and like I'd probably be just as happy with like Rachaad White's production this week. So I don't know. That maybe it's a casual take. I don't know. We have some good organizations that we're running. All right.
We do.
Critique me below. Roast me below. All right. Another NFC West matchup. I actually didn't really realize that they were just all playing each other like round robin like the last 2 weeks. Seahawks Rams. To me, I think this will be game of the week. So excited for this one. You know who we've said this for Seahawks and Rams like all season. You know who you're starting. I don't even know there's much we really need to say here. If anything, though, this is going to be a good defensive game too. So I'm really excited to see how these two match up here.
Yeah, this is going to be crazy, especially with like how well Darnold's done. But I'm interested to see, yeah, like at least like comparing it to like last season where like the Rams like absolutely dominated the Seahawks. I think it was like when they played them in, I think it was for the wild card, I want to say. But like, yeah, sizing it up like this year, Rams run defense looks pretty good. Like I can kind of see a game where with like the responsibility that Darnold's assumed and taken on, he's going to have to throw the ball. And like with how well JSN has done and,
Absurd.
continues to produce, like I could see the Seahawks just kind of taking over this game. I don't think it'll be by much. I think that, obviously with the talent that the Rams have and how well their offense has been able to like succeed, it'll be close, but at least as of right now, like the Seahawks are unreal. Like defense is doing phenomenally. Like Darnold's absolutely using his weapons, and I just see a Seahawks win. I'm really excited for it. Obviously, like across the board, like this is like one of those surefire games where like you have your must starts, like who's going to win you the game. So play them. Like you literally cannot go wrong.
No, definitely agreed there. I feel bad for everyone that has these Seahawks running backs, though, because this past week it is George Holani who gets a touchdown, the third running back on that roster. I think they're all like Sharp and Walker. Unfortunately, I've been benching them in a lot of leagues where I have them. Unfortunately, it's not really trustworthy as RB2s. But yeah, JSN. Darnold might be a risky start this week if you waiver wired him, but Stafford, like same with Stafford actually, who's MVP level. The Seahawks defense is so good, and I'm kind of excited for that to be fully on display. And maybe if Puka and Adams struggle, people will give more slack to Marv for struggling against this secondary. So just saying, that should be a fun one. Chiefs at Broncos, nice another divisional game here. Chiefs coming off of the bye. I don't know the exact record of like Andy Reid post bye, but I think it's pretty good. And despite the Broncos being 8-2, which like feels made up, yeah, I think I'll take the Chiefs pretty heavily in this one. Yeah, Still, do we think there's hope for like Bo Nix? Oh, the big storyline here though is J.K. Dobbins most likely not playing. Another one of these weird situations where it's like not officially an injured reserve declaration for J.K. Dobbins, but who I feel terrible for dealing with injuries all his career for. From the fantasy optimism side, it's now hopefully a little bit more condensed to RJ Harvey, and kind of excited to see what he can do with a larger role. But it's also not past Sean Payton to just he'll want to get like Tyler Bidet the ball too. So I'm hoping we can have like a Harvey breakout game, as you would say.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really fun, especially like how like overdue he is. But no, I personally, this is gonna be one of those games where I think it's gonna end up being a pretty like reasonable defensive matchup. Like you have a 7 straight win Broncos team, as well as a 5-0 at home Broncos team. So like that in its own is like a bear for the Chiefs to come in and kind of deal with that. But no, this will be fun. Like I think it'll probably be a little bit more of a boring game. But I think if like Pat Mahomes can work Rashee as well as Travis Kelce and kind of have like a few explosive plays throughout the game, like I think the Chiefs are probably going to win this one, especially coming off of like a bye week. They're rested, they're ready to get after it. So for this, I don't really trust Bo that much in this game. I think it's going to be tough for him to kind of make a breakout against this like KC team that's just so seasoned. But yeah, like probably more likely to either be defensive or just to have the Chiefs kind of run the field.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I meant to say this when we were talking about Tony Pollard. Who do you trust more, Tony Pollard or Kareem Hunt?
Oh my God. So in the offensive scheme of the Titans,
just like you have to start one. Yeah. There's no other options. There's no waivers. Everyone gets Thanos.
I hate this situation. Probably it's so bad. If I could put Pollard on the Chiefs,
that was not the question. No.
I know. It's just such a cop out. I guess I'm taking.
If you don't want to say, I was going to take Kareem.
I'd probably
take, which I hate saying. There's just touchdown upside.
Kareem Hunt, I know. But
he had I think 78% of the work before their bye, and they don't really add anyone here. I think it's kind of Kareem Hunt 2025.
If that's what you're relying on,
Hey, watch it.
I just mean like for teams that have him as like an
RB1.
I know that's tough.
And I may have him on a team with Tony Pollard. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Ravens Browns. This was a gross game when they first matched up this year. This was like the Derrick Henry, if you remember that drama. I can't remember who exactly was talking trash about Derrick Henry. He's like, oh, we'll see on Sunday, and then like fumbles and it's terrible and has like 2 points against the Browns. So a little bit more optimistic here in matchup number 2, especially with just how the Ravens need to show up if they want to make a playoff run here. But overall, I'm actually somewhat concerned about the Ravens. I am concerned about Derrick Henry. I think it's a tough matchup against this Browns defense, and I think they're going to need to rely a bit more on Lamar. I don't think they're going to be able to really run out the clock here like they may think they can. Yeah.
I feel like this is like one of those like weird games where like I don't really like have much to say about either team. Like it's like I hate to say that. Like I feel like Derrick Henry's been underperforming. Lamar really hasn't been living up to like the size of where I would have expected him, at least. And I hate to say that against like a Browns team who really just doesn't really have anything to call home to. You know what I mean? Like they can't really make anything out of anything. Like I don't think Dylan Gabriel is really anything that could like shake up the Ravens defense, which has been really horrible to say the least. But yeah, I don't know. Like I favor the Ravens in this one, but I don't really have like any sure shot like player that I would really want to call out on either side that like makes me feel confident. Like obviously, like, you're going to start Lamar and you're going to start Derrick Henry in this game, but I'm not even really fully confident to, like, see a detrimental impact for, like, one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I feel like Zay Flowers is even like scary to start too. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
Ravens are just, even Henry, like again, just RB so hard to find that there's probably very little leagues where you can afford to bench him, but he could have another like really bad game against the Browns like he did earlier in the season. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he has like 5 points. So kind of interesting here. And then the Brown side, I mean, there's like nothing to really like ride home about. But I think projections here are favoring a solid game for Judkins. I don't know if I see it actually, because the Ravens defense has been playing very well and Judkins has been incredibly inefficient this past month. And, after looking like a superstar, and I promise this isn't just building on my, I should have sold him for Marv take. Like that's completely unrelated. Just the Judkins overall is just, you're on a bad team that can only really run the ball. Defenses can figure that out pretty well. And while the Ravens were terrible to start the season, they've been pretty good the last few weeks. At least just relatively speaking to the beginning of their season. I don't know. I guess you start Judkins, you start Henry, and you just hope for the best. And when you have volume running backs, that's why you draft them, because they should be kind of matchup proof because they're just getting touches. I don't know. I'm trying just the Browns, like this quarterback room. Okay, not even we're talking about.
Yeah, like I feel bad even trying to like overanalyze it.
No. We'll get to the Lions and the Eagles. Okay. Lions at Eagles, Sunday night game. It should be fun. I need the Eagles to step up. I know you're an Eagles fan. Like, we got AJ Brown, like on streaming saying to trade him if you have him in fantasy. Crazy.
Such bad vibes, dude. God.
I would trade him. I can't. No one wants him.
Yeah, right.
No, so actually, I am curious though for you. I mean, as an Eagles fan, I think you're probably more in tune than I am. I'm just seeing the broadcast. I'm not following the Eagles as closely as you are. Is this a legitimate shift for the offense? Like, obviously, it is for this year. For next year, are they just going to Devontae Smith? Is that now where the offense runs, or is that just what's working this year? And next year, things can open back up for AJ Brown if he is still an Eagle.
Yeah, like. I mean, like all the play calling that I've seen, it's almost like the scheme and like a lot of these like offensive plays are like designed where AJ Brown should have the open availability. And I know that he made this huge campaign. Everyone calls him AO for always open, but it's just like that first look that Jalen Hurts gets consistently to him. It's I hate to say it's like really not always open. Like there are a few cases where like, in those extended plays where he'll break out and then he's wide open down the field. But at that point, it's already been too late into the play where like Devontae's, he's like the main go-to target. And I think that's proven at least over these last couple of stretches of games where like Devontae has like proven as like that reliable fantasy option to slot in. And I hate saying that over AJ Brown, who's like a phenomenal player. But there's like so many times where like you watch him and he just like he has like no like urge to really like put effort into like a lot of these plays. Like he looks defeated, and that's like really sad as like a fan. Like the only thing that I really like sparks my hope for this team is like how like amazing our defense looks, and like just how like we've kind of built this like I would argue like a Super Bowl defense with like how good they are. That's like at least what I would think is like kind of keeping us in these games. I want to see more out of Saquon. I think this is like a good game where he can kind of break the kind of this like stretch of just not the best fantasy output that we would expect out of him, at least after coming off of like a career season. But yeah, this is like, it's just frustrating. It's like really like hard to put it into words as a fan. But to pivot off of my fan slump, Jahmyr Gibbs coming off of like arguably like a career game, like insane. I think if they're going to do a pretty reasonable job of containing him, but he's just such a beast where like it could go both ways.
That run defense is so good. Yeah.
It's crazy. This is going to be like a gridiron battle. Like like it's just like one of those crazy parts of the season where like we're coming off of like what I would consider like a playoff game kind of performance between, you know, Packers, Eagles, and this is going to be another playoff game where like they have like an offense that is actually going to press us, and if the Eagles don't step up and, you know, have a similar output to be able to compete with that, I could see it getting away from us.
I like that comparison a lot. And it's almost like last week's game, Eagles Packers, was like an NFC championship type game where, you know, it's defensive. It's like really hard to get yards. It's hard to score. And this might be more of like what feels like a wild card game. And I'm not saying that based on like seeding or like who the teams are. Just like this could get into shootout territory. Just you know, it's the Lions, who, yeah, they're playing so well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited here. It's just, the Eagles, I think, have been the team that's disappointed me the most from a fantasy standpoint. It's just, I expected Saquon regression. I think it was easy to fade him this offseason, but I didn't think it would be like this bad.
Yeah.
Definitely thought it would be a little bit better than what we're getting. And yeah, it's almost like the play calling is designed knowing that the defenses are expecting the ball historically to be a run or to beat AJ Brown. And they're like, okay, so let's just make this offense the Smith Goddard offense. And it's working. So like, why would they move off of that, I guess? But I feel really bad for AJ Brown too, though. Like, he's a huge advocate for mental health. I know he's been open about his struggles, and I don't know. It's another one of those situations where, are you keeping him because you need him for this championship run, and then you'll kind of let him walk after this season? Actually, I feel like I should know his contract situation, but I don't off the top of my head. Otherwise, why would you not just trade him? I think it's pretty clear he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, as like an Eagles fan, like I have them favored in this, but then as like an amateur, like football analyst, I can't help but be scared with how well the Lions have been. Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, regardless, should be a good game, and I think we're gonna end the week. This is a great Monday night game. I love when there's a Monday night game that has a lot of fantasy relevant players in it, and it's terrible defenses. So there's gonna be some Monday night miracles for sure. You know, after just being to the moon about the Brock Bowers performance 2 weeks ago, he of course disappoints here. But for the Raiders and Cowboys, I think maybe we get another 40-point Bowers game. Like, no joke. Like, the Cowboys defense is so bad. They're coming off a bye. I think they'll be playing with some motivation. I know that they've gone through a lot the past few weeks, so don't want to overlook that at all. But I think I think Genty could run wild here. I think Bowers could have 2-3 touchdowns again. And then on the Cowboys side, I think, you know, Dak could win you your week. I think Lamb's going to win you your week. And Javonte Williams could win you your week. Truly, like, they got like 5 players in this game with like week winning upside for the teams that have them.
Yeah, and to piggyback off your point, like these defenses are atrocious. Like arguably both of these defenses make teams look like playoff contending teams with like how
the Panthers beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, like it's awful. It's so bad. And like arguably probably one of the most favorited like shootouts of the week. And if it's not a shootout of the week, I think it could just end up being like the Cowboys just going crazy. Like if we're going to talk about mental health or my mental health, I need CeeDee Lamb and everyone to just go, you know, nuclear. Like I would love to see this as like a Monday night and just have it go, you know, through the roof. But yeah, like it's like crazy to make any like sense of it. Like you would think like with how these teams have evolved over the last couple of years that there would be some kind of build around for these defenses to like even kind of make like contending playoff runs for the team. But there's just like really not been that like effort. Like you have these like huge trades, like you're moving, you know, your number one defensive player out, not even giving him like kind of like a batting an eye at it to like consider a new contract. Like there's just no effort into it. So from that frustration, like you're like, here we are, we're destined to see high point game for like both sides. Yeah. So
I'll say I low key forgot. Like this has been a great episode, and we've talked about a lot of games here for almost 90 minutes. I completely forgot that they traded for Quinn Williams. Like, so that actually in itself, because we haven't seen him as a Cowboy yet since they had their bye, maybe I might need to take back what I said about Genty. Maybe this run defense gets bolstered because that interior. I mean, I think Kenny Clark's actually kind of been playing well. Obviously, not like, I don't know, different part of the field than Micah, but I don't know. Maybe there could be some positives here for this run defense, and yeah, this might be one of those shootouts that's not really a shootout. It's like all Cowboys for the first 3 quarters, and then it's like you're happy for fantasy because it's just like Bowers gets spammed in the 4th quarter, and like maybe the score is kind of close, even though like it wasn't really equally back and forth. I don't know. This is like one of those on paper. This is one of like those point shootouts, but game script might be a little bit different.
Yeah, it's gonna be wonky. I think it's gonna be a lot of trash time points.
Dude, garbage time's been killing me. I swear, we go into these the witching hour, as Red Zone would say, and I'm projected to win in every league by like 60, and then there's just like some ridiculous. There's like a 50-point swing like in the span of 5 minutes. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. But we're fine. Everyone, all right. Good luck to everybody this week. We're gonna have a fun week of football. I think we have a great slate of games. Less teams on bye, so just lots to be excited about here. And don't worry if you're losing, especially in Dynasty. This is actually a fun part of the season for you too. We got trade deadlines coming up. If your league has those, so you can always make moves. And like I said earlier, it's sometimes good to just accept being bad because then you can have fun with it. You can actually properly tank. You can like trim the fat off your team to better your draft pick. So it's not all negative out there. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.